I've had all the pain and sorrow one lifetime will last. Go and tell my darling the highway's got me now. The highway's got me now.
So the saddles that we use in the steer wrestling nowadays are they're very similar to the saddles for other events, and the most important part is how well they fit the horses. But they do have a few modifications. A lot of steer wrestlers want a saddle horn that has a different grip to it than a roping horn would be, so that they can hold onto it when they're in the dismount on the catch. And then additionally, typically most steer wrestlers want a little lower cantle in the back of the saddle, and they typically want swells that aren't as dynamic as they would be in the roping events, where you need less on the front of the saddle. It facilitates a quicker dismount from the saddle onto the back of the steer. So the head catch in steer wrestling is vitally important in that it sets up the entire rest of the run. We want to not just catch the steer's head, but in the catch, what we're trying to do is move the steer's head from straight in line with his body and up where the steer is stronger and more and the most powerful, to over into our tracks and down a little bit. By doing this, we change the steer's direction, and then he can follow his head around the corner, and we can get the flat fall. The most common mistake we see in bulldogging, and it happens at all levels, is that most guys try to overpower the animal. And while you can still throw a steer down that way, it's slow. And this is an event that happens in 3.5 seconds. And so what we want, fundamentally what we're trying to have happen in a steer wrestling run is be able to move the steer's head into our tracks, and then let him use his speed and agility to put himself in a position where us applying a little bit of force at the proper time will cause the steer to get upside down and flat. So the biggest mistake we see against that is guys trying to slow the animal down, trying to power him around. You can still throw him down like that, but anytime I do that, it's going to be slower than if I'm letting the steer do the work for me. When we talk about footwork in the steer wrestling, we're talking about balance. Any person that's in balance is going to be stronger and more athletic than somebody that's out of balance. And so what we're trying to do in the steer wrestling event is, after we've taken the steer's head and as he's bringing us back to our feet, by not resisting the steer but by moving, we're able to get ourselves in balance, and that allows us to use the power and strength that we have when we finish and get the flat fall. Oftentimes, how a person rides is considered not that important in steer wrestling, but we beg to differ. The better you can ride, the more centered you are with your horse, the more likely it is that your horse is going to continue to work. These horses are asked a very hard thing. They're supposed to sit dead still in a box and leave running at their absolute top speed, while a man that weighs 250 pounds hangs off the side of them. So the guy that can ride his horse out of the box, put his horse into position, and then quickly take his weight from the center of the horse onto the back of the steer is the guy that's going to keep that horse working over a long period of time. And so we can keep those great horses who cost a lot of money being successful over an entire career. Oftentimes, people want to know what is the prototypical bulldogger, and I think just even every year at the NFR shows that there are multiple sizes that can be successful at that, as long as each individual knows their strengths and their weaknesses and knows how to put themselves in positions to use their strengths and abilities to their own good. There's this idea in all martial arts that if I can get the opponent to fight my fight, I've got the advantage. And so bulldoggers that know how to use their own strengths, know what their strengths are, and know how to put them in play can be successful in this dress. Great hazers are great horsemen. They understand the event, so they understand what the bulldogger is going to need. They're able to ride their horses at a high level and be able to read the cattle and the action that's happening in front of them, so they can show up, be in the right place, and move the steer in the direction that's needed for the bulldogger to be successful.
Hi there, I'm Bridget Anderson, and this is Whiskers. I'm a professional steer wrestler. I've twice qualified for the NFR. Both times have been on Whiskers. I've had Whiskers since 2017 when I first started rodeoing professionally, and he's been awesome. He come from Diamond S Performance Horses out of Almont, North Dakota, and he spent some time on the track. He's 16 years old now, and put on a lot of miles. Feels like he's been rodeoing for 20 years. But for a horse to be a good bulldogging horse, it pretty well boils down to three qualities. One, they have to run hard. They got to be able to cover some ground because it's turning into a horse race anymore. And you can have two of the qualities and still be a good horse, but if you want to have a great one, you got to have three. It's run hard, run to cattle or read cattle, and then be good in the box. And thankfully, Whiskers stands like a rock in the box. Doesn't really give you any problems. He's got some wheels, and he likes to read a cow and run to a cow. If you have those three points, you can have a great horse. Some horses get a little ratty in the box, or some have a really cool pattern but don't necessarily have the wheels, and they can make up for a lot of things. But a really fun one has all three qualities. Whiskers is a pretty chill horse. He takes care of himself on the road. He doesn't ever get too worked up. And some horses, when they get to rodeoing hard throughout the year, they'll get worked up and they'll kind of give themselves ulcers or spend too much time pacing. And he doesn't get worked up about anything. He's pretty chill. So he's awesome to haul in that regard, and make sure that he doesn't put himself in a position to get hurt ever. So that helps him become a pretty good horse at a professional level too. He's had lots of time on the road to figure it out. Like right now, he's kind of thinking he wants to go back to standing by the hay bale, but no, he's done really well. So as far as qualities that maybe don't make a great bulldogging horse, as far as qualities that don't make bulldoggers the greatest horsemen, I think they kind of coincide. I don't claim to be the one that knows the most about horses and being a horseman, but I know it's kind of what I've come to find over my rodeo career. But in the bulldogging, we don't necessarily have the best horsemen, and you can get by a lot of horses that are maybe bad in the box or don't necessarily have all 3 points. And there's a lot of really good bulldogging horses that you've had to hold them in the corner and get by them. Now, I don't fully believe that works all the time, but you can get buy a lot of horses that maybe have a few quirks and they still work. But as far as what I can see that makes a really fun one, that's the three are the good in the box and the run hard and the run of cattle. If you only have two of them, bulldoggers, we got enough help that 4 guys can hold one in the corner and you can get by it. It also helps to keep a good bulldogging horse, try to put guys on your horses that can ride and don't really get in their way or mess them up, and try to be a little picky in that sense. But no, there's a lot of horses that you can get by them if you have to, and sometimes that's part of bulldogging.